Hello world, and how are you all doing today? Hope you're all well out there in modular synth land. So, we often think of creativity and creative acts as being these highly enjoyable and fun activities where we experience moments of inspiration as if they're sort of magical interludes within our day, and that it's all just lovely and fun and so on. But the truth of the matter is that a lot of the time creativity is difficult, it's hard, it's frustrating, and uncomfortable, and not really that pleasant. So why do we all do it? Why do we all want to do it? Well, it's often when you look back after completing a task that you really feel a sense of achievement and joy and pleasure. And you look back and you see what you've created, and it fills you with that sense of achievement. And that's probably the reason why we do it. Not necessarily for the pleasure or enjoyment in the moment. Which is not to say that you don't experience that. You definitely do. But not all of the time. A lot of the time is actually the opposite. But that is okay. That is okay. Because really, if we are wanting to push ourselves and we're wanting to grow and we want to improve our abilities and skills and do better, then we should be experiencing discomfort and it should be hard. If it was easy, everyone would do it, wouldn't they? And I often think about my old guitar teacher who would say to me, "Have you done any practice this week?" And I say, "Oh well, I haven't really done this, but I have been playing my guitar." And he said, "Yeah, you've been playing. Playing is easy. Playing is fun. That's what you do afterwards. But practice is hard. Practice is the work. It's what you need to do to get better. So you need to practice. You need to practice your scales. You need to practice this. You need to practice this piece here. You need to, etc., etc." You get the idea. And modular synth is no different. Modular synths are often touted as being these amazing tools for creativity and freedom, but they are far from easy, and they are far from intuitive, and can be very difficult to master at times. And really, the only way to reach that sort of level where, it seems to the casual outside observer that you are having these moments of high creativity and all the rest of it, the only way to do that is to practice the skill. And a lot of the time that is done through repetition. Whether you're learning scales on a guitar, or whether you are learning to patch on a modular synth, repetition is the key thing. And repetition is difficult because it can be tedious and it can be boring and it's not always fun, and sometimes we don't want to do it. We don't want to sit down and actually put ourselves into the moment and get on with it. But you have to sort of bring yourself to it and actually go through the motions and do the work. Otherwise, you won't see the results. That sounds quite harsh, doesn't it? It does sound a little bit harsh, but I think it's true. Now, that doesn't mean to say that it can't always be fun, that doesn't mean to say that it can't be fun and it always has to be difficult, because if that were the case, then again, no one would do it. And sometimes it's nice to sit down and just do something for fun. But we have to always bear in mind that those fun times are not the times when we're actually improving ourselves and getting better. Okay, creativity isn't always fun. And it's not just about inspiration, it's about repetition, it's about building foundational skills. Even when it feels tedious, like I said, it's like practicing an instrument, practicing your scales. So if you have to patch that same voice over and over again so that you really know what's going on with the synth, then that's what you've got to do. But sometimes it's going through that process that then leads to new discoveries. Okay, maybe it's taking a module that that you've used over and over again, and trying something slightly different with it, or doing something in a slightly different way. Maybe it is revisiting things that are tried and tested and you might think are a little bit boring, and again trying to do something different or uncover some new level of understanding about what you're doing there. And for myself, that happens quite a lot, and I think over the last couple of weeks, while I've been doing this 30-day challenge, there have been lots of little sort of aha moments where I've done something which I've done lots of times, but that for whatever reason on that particular occasion I've done it differently, and the result has been something new and interesting. So that repetition is really important, and it is difficult at times, but you can do it. We can do it. There's that saying, isn't there? Can't remember who it's by, but mastery requires 10,000 hours of practice or 10,000 hours of work. I'm not sure how true that is. It probably is true, but it's 10,000 hours of of actual practice, not 10,000 hours of playing. And that's the difference, isn't it? Playing being the enjoyable part, and practicing being the sometimes, or a lot of the time, not so enjoyable part. And that again, it's also about sort of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. It's called a comfort zone for a reason, because it's comfortable and it's easy, and we like to sit there and enjoy what we're doing. But in order to grow, you have to push yourself out of that comfort zone, and of course, if you're out of the comfort zone, then it's no longer comfortable. It is uncomfortable by definition. And so really, in order to grow and challenge yourself, you have to experience a certain level of uncomfortability, and that might be doing something that you've not done before, something that is unfamiliar to you, that you don't feel confident with. It might be trying a different technique, or if you're always used to using sort of very melodic sequences, maybe trying something with some randomness or some noise or a different type of scale to what you're used to. It doesn't really matter, but pushing yourself outside of what you normally do is the only way to get better. And again, it might be trying to do something that at first seems too complex or too difficult, and you feel that you can't do it. Because you don't have the skills to do it, but it's just taking it a step at a time and pulling it apart and working out what you need to do, and then getting on with it, and once you've done that once, it's then doing it again and repeating it, and keep pushing and keep doing that thing that you think is too difficult until you actually can do it, and then it's no longer difficult, and then you move on to something else. If you find that you're sat there and you're working on something and it feels easy, then you're probably not challenging yourself, and you're probably not gaining anything from that in terms of growth. So challenge, being uncomfortable, repetition, being bored, sometimes doing things that are tedious. This is the important work of creativity, and this is what we need to sort of push ourselves to do when we often don't want to. And again, that sort of ties in with the idea of habit, which I think I spoke about in a previous video, of trying to build a habit so that you don't have to always rely on willpower. If you have to rely on willpower all the time, then you probably won't succeed. But if you can build a habit, and you can build a habit of working in a way where you can deal with that repetition, and you can work through the boring times, and you can deal with the uncomfortability because you have that habit, that good sort of work ethic and habit, then you will succeed, and you will achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. Of course, that's not to say that you have to do that all of the time. If you just want to keep things fun, then that is perfectly okay. You know, for some people, they don't want to spend a lot of time working on something which is going to be difficult and hard, because this activity is a hobby and it's something to do for fun. It's something to do to unwind after a hard day's work. There are lots of reasons why people want to pursue something, and all of them are valid. So, this is not to say that I'm deriding anybody that sits there and says, well, I don't want to do that because I just want to keep this fun. That is your choice, and that is no less valid than any other option. So, it's perfectly okay to spend time just doing stuff for fun. And you still will have breakthroughs and achievements that way as well. So you have to make a choice for yourself. Do you want to have the sort of growth that leads to achieving your full potential, or are you just trying to sort of keep things fun, and it's not that important to you, but you enjoy doing what you do, and that is the choice that you have to make. And it's not always about the modules. It's not always about the patching. It could be, to do with the music. Trying to structure things into a piece of music rather than just having sort of endless jams that go on without a beginning or an end to them. And it's trying to think of ways to do that, where you can actually create a piece of music that somebody would want to listen to, or that you could perform, and so on. That's something that I know that I have to work on myself. All these patches that I'm doing, I try to sort of think of them in ways that can be a complete piece of music. But if I were to ever want to sort of go out and do a performance with those, that would be something that I'd have to figure out, and I'm not sure how I would do that. And that kind of does fill me with a little sort of, a small amount of discomfort, maybe a large amount of discomfort, to think how, if I wanted to take some of these patches out and perform them live, how would I do that? I've no idea. That's something for me to think about. But I think with the sort of that high level of discomfort, you do get high levels of rewards. You have these moments where you might have been working at something for an hour or whatever, and it's hard and it's difficult and nothing's going right and it sounds terrible, but then you manage to do something and you get a little bit of a moment of a breakthrough, and suddenly it all seems worth it. I know that's something that I've definitely observed recently, whereby I might sort of be working on something for an hour or a couple of hours, and it just doesn't seem to be going right, and I struggle, and I feel like I'm not doing anything well or whatever, and you go away and come back and you just get that one thing that falls into place and it sounds good, and you think, this is it, and from that moment other things then start dropping into place, and it seems you have to go through that little bit of struggle in order to get to the point where everything sort of comes together. So are there any kind of sort of strategies or methods that we can sort of use to help get through these difficult moments or times when it's a bit of a struggle? So I think having sort of some kind of goal that you're trying to achieve, reach for small goals. Just try and get a patch together with just 3 modules or a few modules. Try and get one voice going, something simple. I've talked about the benefit of keeping patches simple in a previous video, but a simple goal that you can achieve and then move on to another goal, and then once you hit that, having some sort of little celebration for a moment, taking a break, getting yourself a drink, whatever, sitting back and listening to what you've done. Listening is so important when you're working with when you're working with modular, when you're working with any kind of music, really. And you know, it's good to take these moments just to sit back and listen and just appreciate what you've done there and celebrate that for a moment. And again, I've talked about this before, embracing the imperfection. So when things are not right, you know, not going well, sort of maybe kind of lean into that a little bit more and see if there's something you can take from that and turn that sort of bad patch around, and turn it into something positive. You know, there've been times when I've been working on a patch and it just seems like it's just got into this big horrible mess of cables and noise and too much going on, and sometimes just taking out a couple of voices and just sort of letting it, I don't know, letting it breathe almost for a moment. Suddenly it seems, oh, like there's actually something there now. I was just covering it up with too much other stuff to be able to notice it, and you have to sort of sit back for a moment and listen to that. So I would ask you, are you challenging yourself to grow, or are you know, staying in your comfort zone? Is there one thing that you've avoided doing within your creative practice, within your patching practice, that you know that you sort of need to do to kind of push yourself forward? What is it? Let me know in the comments below. Yeah, so try and challenge yourself to do something uncomfortable. Try and challenge yourself to do something different, something that you might have ignored, you know, and see what the results of that are. So I guess, you know, as a final sort of summing up of what I've been talking about, creativity is rewarding. It is joyful and it is brilliant and amazing and all the rest of it, but it requires discomfort. It requires repetition. It requires being bored at times and not wanting to do what you have to do. And that is the only real way to get to those magical moments of fulfillment. So, you know, sometimes it feels messy and frustrating and all the rest of it, but persistence leads to those beautiful, unexpected moments where the results are all worth the effort. Yeah, so I would just encourage you to, you know, embrace the challenge of doing something different, embrace the challenge of stepping outside of your comfort zone, and just try and remember, you know, the next time it feels hard, the next time it's difficult and you're struggling, that's the time when you're improving, that's the time when things are getting better, and that's the time when you're growing. Creativity isn't always fun, but it is always worth it in the end, and I think everyone would probably agree with that. So that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. I hope it's given you some food for thought, and maybe inspired you to do something new and different. If you have enjoyed this video, of course, please do hit the like button, and don't forget, as I always say at the start of the video, if you want to see more of these, hit the subscribe button. If you would like to support the channel, you can, of course, buy me a coffee using the link in the description, and you can also sign up to my Patreon, which I will set up very soon. So I would just, you know, go over onto Patreon, sign up as a free user. There's a whole bunch of stuff on there, which are mostly the videos from this channel, which I'm trying to sort of sift through and re-upload them into Patreon, so there's no adverts within the videos. But I've got some ideas for what to do with that Patreon coming soon. So yeah, get over there, sign up as a free member of the Patreon team, whatever it is, and check that out. Okay. Let me know how you get on with your modular synth challenges and practice in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Cheerio. If you wonder what that clicking noise is, it's this. I'm constantly fiddling with this thing whilst I'm talking. I really must stop doing that. I'm sort of like a little bit of a fidgety person, and that's probably really annoying, but you know. So yeah, I would encourage you to try and push yourself out of your comfort zone. Try and do something new. Try and do something different. And the next time that it feels hard, remember that's where the magic happens. That sounds a bit corny, doesn't it? Next time it feels hard, remember that's where the magic happens. Sometimes I can't believe the words that come out of my mouth. Creativity is not always fun. Creativity is a burden. Creativity. Right. That's the end of that.